In a world where time seems to be going faster and faster, where the pressure to consume is constant, there is another path we can choose. It's called the slow life. This idea may sound simple, but its power is profound, especially for those of us who have lived through decades of change and who may now wish for something quieter and more meaningful as we age. Evaluating consumerism in later years as we grow older, it becomes clear that material things often carry less weight in our youth. Society told us that more possessions meant more success. We were bombarded with advertising and the message was always clear: spend more, own more, be more. But now, with the wisdom that comes from years of living, many of us are realizing that happiness does not come from what we own. The fabric of modern society is built on consumerism designed to make us spend. It tells us that we are only part of the system if we buy into it, literally, the latest gadget, the fanciest car, the most luxurious holiday. These are sold to us as the keys to happiness, but the truth is that consumption does not satisfy the deeper needs of our souls. We live in a world where everything is monetized, and for those of us who remember a time when life moved at a slower pace, it can be overwhelming, but there is a way out. We don't have to buy into this race anymore. In fact, we've reached an age where it's perfectly acceptable to opt out, to stop, breathe and live slower. 2. Clearing out the clutter, a personal journey. Let me tell you a story. Many years ago I downsized. I sold my big house and moved into a smaller space, a narrow boat. Now if you know anything about narrow boats, you will know that they are small, 50 feet long and just under 7 feet wide. Not a lot of room for stuff. I had to make hard decisions about what to keep and what to let go. I couldn't take everything with me at first, it felt impossible. I had accumulated so many boxes over the years. Boxes of things I hadn't used in decades, kitchen appliances I didn't even remember owning. I had 5 coffee machines, for God's sake. But as I started to let go, a funny thing happened. I started to feel lighter. It was as if I was shedding not just material things but emotional weight as well. Moving into that small space, taking only what I really needed, gave me a sense of freedom I hadn't felt in years. It felt like a burden had been lifted, much like the mythical Atlas shrugging off the sky. Even if you're not planning to move or downsize, I encourage you to give it a try. Go through your kitchen, your cupboards, and your garage. You will be amazed at how much better you feel with less. Simplifying your environment has a way of simplifying your mind. 3. Embrace capitalism with caution. Now, I'm not against capitalism. In fact, it's a system that works for the most part. Businesses create goods and services that make our lives easier, and in return they make a profit, which is fair. If someone bakes a loaf of bread and sells it to me for a little more than it costs to make it, I'm fine with that. They've done the hard work and I'm happy to pay for the convenience. The beauty of capitalism is that it's a competitive system. If one company charges too much for a product, another will come along and undercut their price, but the downside is that we can get trapped in a cycle of buying more and more. The downside is that we can get caught up in a cycle of buying more and more, always chasing the next product, the next trend, the next fleeting pleasure. As we get older, we realize that the things we thought we needed weren't really necessary at all. Life isn't about having the latest phone or the fanciest clothes. It's about experiences, relationships, and moments of quiet reflection. 4. Living simply in a complex world. Living a slow, less materialistic life means going against the grain. If you choose to live more simply, without the constant need for more possessions, you begin to see life differently. You begin to notice things that may have gone unnoticed before: the rustling of leaves in the wind, the warmth of the sun on your skin, the quiet moments of reflection that bring a sense of peace and contentment. These things cannot be bought, and yet they offer a richness that money simply cannot provide. Living simply does not mean depriving yourself. It means being conscious of your choices, focusing on what really brings you joy. It's about slowing down enough to appreciate the life you have, rather than always striving for the life you think you need. Yes, you may feel like an outsider at first. Friends and family may not understand your decision to live more minimally, but over time the peace you gain from slowing down and consuming less will far outweigh the discomfort of being different. You'll find that living simply, while perhaps unconventional in today's world, is a path to greater fulfillment and deeper happiness. As we age, the things that bring us joy often become simpler. The grand experiences we once sought out may no longer hold the same appeal. Instead, we find happiness in the small things, the things we may have overlooked or taken for granted in our youth, the quiet pleasure of sipping a cup of tea on a crisp morning, the contentment of spending time with loved ones, or the joy of watching birds at the feeder. You start to see the value in things that don't have a price tag. Maybe you start gardening, growing your own vegetables or flowers. Maybe you pick up a book you've been meaning to read, or take up a hobby you loved but never had the time for. The point is, you remove the distractions of constant consumption. You make room for these simple pleasures, and they will sustain you far longer than any material possession ever could. 6. Resist the pull of consumerism. Let's face it, the pull of consumerism is strong, and even if you've made a conscious decision to live a slower, simpler life, you'll still face temptations. It's easy to get caught up in the allure of sales, advertising, or just the urge to buy something new because it feels good at the moment. How many times have we all logged onto a website like Amazon, not needing anything in particular, but ended up browsing for things to buy? That's the temptation. The temptation of consumerism convinces us that we need things we don't, and before we know it, we've filled our shopping baskets with items that only give us temporary satisfaction. But here's the good news: the more you practice resisting these urges, the easier it gets. Like any habit, it takes time to break the cycle. Start small, try going one day without buying anything, then 2, then a week. Over time you will find that the desire to constantly consume will fade, and you will feel more at peace with what you already have. 7. Fill the void with meaningful activities. When you stop spending so much time and money on buying things, you will find that you have more space in your life, both literally and figuratively. What will you do with this space? The possibilities are endless, but the key is to fill it with activities that bring meaning and joy to your life. Maybe you will take up knitting or start walking in the park every morning. Maybe you'll start taking a morning walk in the park. Maybe you'll spend more time with your grandchildren, sharing stories from your past and passing on the wisdom you've gained. Or maybe you'll devote more time to a hobby or craft that you've always enjoyed but never fully pursued. The point is, when you're no longer focused on acquiring things, you can focus on doing things that nourish your soul and bring you a deeper sense of fulfillment. You'll find that these activities, though simple, are incredibly rewarding, and they don't require you to open your wallet. 8. The challenges of living differently. Living slowly and simply in today's world is not without its challenges. You will encounter resistance not only from others, but also from within yourself. We have all been conditioned to believe that success and happiness are tied to what we have, and it can be hard to let go of this belief. Society promotes a narrative of consumption because it benefits those in power. The more we spend, the more they gain. Choosing to step outside this system means going against the grain, and this can be uncomfortable at times. Over time, the pressures of society will have less of a hold on you, and you will find peace in knowing that you are living in alignment with your values. The journey isn't easy, but it's worth it. 9. Financial freedom through simplicity. One of the greatest benefits of living a slow life is the financial freedom it brings. When you stop buying things you don't need, you start saving money, and that money can be used for the things you really want. Whether it's traveling to see family, investing in your health, or simply building a cushion for peace of mind in your later years, living simply reduces the financial pressure many of us feel as we age. Instead of working to maintain a lifestyle based on consumption, you can focus on enjoying the fruits of your labor and the things that bring you real joy. You may even find that you need less income than you thought to live a fulfilling life. 10. Reflecting on life's journey. As we get older, reflection becomes part of the journey as we get older. As we grow older, reflection becomes a natural part of life. We look back on the choices we have made, the experiences we have had, and the lessons we have learned. Living a slow, simple life gives us the space to do this reflection in a meaningful way. When I reflect on my own journey, I don't regret the things I didn't buy or the trends I didn't follow. What I do cherish are the moments spent with loved ones, the experiences of quiet joy, and the deep sense of peace that comes from living in alignment with my values. I've made mistakes with my values along the way, of course, but I wouldn't change a thing. The slow, deliberate, less materialistic path I've chosen has brought me a level of contentment that no amount of possessions ever could. 11. Leaving a legacy of simplicity. Finally, as we approach the later stages of life, many of us begin to think about the legacy we will leave behind. What do we want to be remembered for? For me, it's not about leaving behind material wealth or possessions. I hope that my children and grandchildren will learn from my example, not the things I have, but the way I have chosen to live. I hope that they will see that happiness does not come from having more, but from appreciating the simple joys of life, and I hope that they will carry this lesson forward and find their own paths to peace and contentment, just as I have. 12. Prioritizing health and well-being as we age. As we age, our health becomes one of the most important aspects of our lives in a world that often prioritizes productivity and material success over well-being. Since it's easy to forget to take care of ourselves, the slow life encourages us to focus on our health, both mental and physical, by making room for rest, self-care, and mindfulness. When we slow down, we give ourselves the time to really listen to our bodies. We begin to recognize when we need to rest, when we need to move, and when we need to nourish ourselves with healthy food and positive experiences. This awareness is a key benefit of slow living. Instead of pushing ourselves to the brink in order to maintain a busy schedule or accumulate more things, we can focus on staying active, eating well, and nurturing our mental well-being. For many, this shift also leads to a deeper connection with nature, whether it's taking regular walks in a local park, gardening, or simply sitting outside to enjoy the fresh air. Connecting with nature has immense benefits for our health. Studies have shown that spending time in nature reduces stress, lowers blood pressure, and improves mental clarity. In a slow life, health is not an afterthought, it's a priority, and with less pressure to keep up with the pace of modern life, we can focus on the most important thing of all, our well-being. By taking care of ourselves in this way, we can enjoy a higher quality of life now and in the years to come. In conclusion, the joy of slow living, choosing a slow life, spending less, and finding peace and simplicity is not the easiest path, but it is one of the most rewarding. It allows us to step away from the constant pressure to consume and instead focus on the things that really matter: relationships, experiences, and inner peace. For those of us in the later stages of life, this approach offers a chance to reflect on what's most important, to let go of the unnecessary, and to live with a sense of contentment and fulfillment. It's a journey worth taking, and I invite you to join me on it. Thank you for watching the whole video. If you find these stories inspiring and motivating, please comment 1, if not comment 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Thank you for your valuable time.